Welcome back to another very special episode of No Bolts Left Behind. One where the plans for my project car come totally crashing down, and I decide to take my build in a completely different direction. And I think it's a direction you're gonna like. So in the last episode, I failed miserably at fixing the original inline-six engine in my 1968 Mustang. After a little flame shooting incident and a bunch of failed compression tests, I spent the last couple weeks searching for a replacement inline-six engine, but they were all terrible. They either smoked like crazy, had awful compression, or both. So, in a final attempt to get this thing up and running again, I reinstalled my original cylinder head, and I actually filmed an entire episode where I completely disassemble, clean, scrub, freshen up the valves, rocker arms, install new valve seals, pretty much the works. I figured it would at least run the same as it did, maybe even a little bit better, but it did not. Once again, I pretty much lost all compression on this motor. It's funny because I read all about how these Ford inline-sixes are supposedly super reliable, like indestructible or whatever, but in my opinion and experience, I'm here to say that that is not true. Definitely would not consider these indestructible. If you thought I was at a low point in the end of the last episode, this one was a pretty rough day. It made me realize why some project cars end up sitting unfinished in garages for years, sometimes forever. But I don't leave bolts behind, and I definitely do not leave project cars behind. So starting right now, this build series is turning into an engine swap series, and I think I just bought the perfect owner car. Here it is. Just bought this thing. Runs good as far as I can tell. $1,650. I'm having it towed because I have a ton of AAA miles saved up, and I don't have anybody with me here to drive the Challenger back home. Found this thing up in Hollywood of all places. Guy said he bought it from his grandma, who was the original owner, and it has 160,000 miles on it, but supposedly mostly freeway driving back and forth from LA to Northern California. Obviously a Coyote swap would have been cool. They have tons of power, they sound awesome, but they're still fairly new and they're very expensive. They're also very, very big motors. So, of course with the overhead cam setup, they end up being very, very wide. And they simply don't fit in a 60s Mustang without really major cutting. I also considered a Ford modular V8, which is the engine from like a 2000s Mustang GT or a Crown Vic. And those are pretty cool engines. They make decent power. In fact, my little brother actually did this swap in his 66 Mustang, and it's a pretty good setup. It's also an overhead cam engine, so he did have to cut out the shock towers and weld in a whole new front end. Considering how original and rust-free my car is, I really wasn't ready to cut out that much original metal. So I decided to go with a third option, which is a fuel-injected 5-liter from a Ford Explorer. They're basically an improved version of the Fox Body 5.0. It has some more advanced computer control and OBD2, which is a plus for an electronics nerd like me. They also come with an improved electronically controlled 4-speed transmission, which I think should fit nicely in the Mustang's transmission tunnel. And maybe best of all, they come with that glorious Ford 8.8 rear axle, which came from the factory with posi, some pretty aggressive rear gear sets, and disc brakes. They just so happen to fit nicely in a 68 Mustang without too much modification. And since my car's a factory 6-cylinder, it came with that tiny 7.5-inch Ford lug rear axle, which is pretty much guaranteed to explode as soon as I put any sort of V8 power through it. So I spent the last couple weeks looking for a good running, relatively low miles, late 90s to early 2000s, two-wheel drive, 5.0 Ford Explorer or Mercury Mountaineer. And I'm proud to say that I'm the new owner of a 1996 Ford Explorer 5.0. All right, made it back to the garage. Can't wait to start cutting this thing up. All right, so the first step, we're gonna work on taking stuff off the front end. This car actually is a little bit too long to fit in my garage, so I think one important step is to remove about 5 or 6 inches from the length of this car. So front bumper, grille, hood, all of these things, if they come off, possibly the rear bumper, I think that as a starting point, this thing then should fit in the garage in case I have to shut the garage door. And I think after that, we'll go straight after the engine and we'll see what it's gonna take to get this thing pulled out of here. All right, we got this whole front end taken off here. Got the front fenders, and that's pretty much the very furthest forward point here. So that's as short as the front end's gonna get, but we're gonna keep going after this engine. And I think the next thing we'll have to remove, the next big thing after we take out the radiators and this, I guess, power steering cooler or whatever this is, transmission cooler, I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut out this front radiator core here. That way the engine can come more straight out and we don't have to lift it up over this thing. And I don't think there's really any use for this guy here. So time to drain some fluids and get cutting. Jesus. Oh. Oh yeah. She's coming, all right. Okay. What's the easiest path? All right, so we got this front core support, radiator support cut off here, and the engine's pretty much going to be able to be pulled straight out. I got the wiring harness also kind of taken down, disconnected from all that stuff, but before I disconnect anything further, I have the battery rigged up here, and I got all the spark plug wires off and the spark plugs out. We're going to do a compression test, and this is kind of the moment of truth to see how good this engine is. Ooh. Yeah, a little bit of fluid. All right, so we got 150 on that cylinder, so that's good, I guess. We'll see. The idea is that ideally they're all the same across the board, so that's what we're hoping for. All right, here's the second one. Cylinder number 2. All right, so far so good. I think the idea is that they're within 10% of each other, and the biggest difference we have here is only about 10 psi, so that's, you know, something like 6 or 7%, whatever it is. So far so good, passenger side. All right, here's the final numbers. They're all just within 10% of each other, so I think we're okay. Maybe I'll do a leak down test when I have this engine out of here, but definitely no major problems, so that's a huge relief. I'm not going to do this. I'm probably going to put headers on this thing anyway. Yeah, I think the whole thing's going up into the transom. Go ahead and jack it up more, I would say.
Where's the
So that's is that 2 or 3 things? I will count that as 2 things. Oh, she's coming.
the engine mounts?
Oh, I see the pipe there.
Okay, your trans is touching the tunnel. Let's see it. You need to make it higher because the exhaust is touching. Yeah, here we go.
Now we're coming.
Now we get it.
What is that blue wire?
It's coming with it.
Can you move that?
I think you're good now.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Already.
It goes to that. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. It goes to the battery. And other various. And maybe should we tilt it back?
It's forward. It should take
It's a boy.
Woo! That wasn't so bad. All right, whew, that was a long day. Feels good to have this thing out of there. Feels good to have an actual good running motor for the Mustang. Not sure what it's gonna take to get it up and running in there yet, but we'll figure it out. The next episode, I'll finish getting this Explorer stripped out. Still have to pull the axle, some wiring, and basically everything else too, so I can sell as much as I can off of this thing. All right, see you next week.
Bye.
That's the last one. I'll count that.
Oh yeah, careful with what you're saying there.